tree lights in the background, which once again, shooting the spherical 35, I don't believe that you could have picked up quite the intensity of those lights or the depth had we used anamorphic glass. Yeah, I think that every picture would want to tell you what it wants to be in this particular one. You know, because of the style that we chose to photograph it in, definitely was an asset to us to use spherical glass, to have the luxury of being able to shoot, you know, 500 or 800 ASA stocks at a 1.9 or a 2 stop. We actually didn't shoot any of the 800 ASA. We used all of the 5279 for all the night exteriors and night interiors, and then 5248 for all of our day exteriors. Kicked it in.
The detail in the Paper Street house is so amazing. I mean, even the wooden stairway is more warm in the center. You know, I mean, just the little details that, you know, a lot of them the film didn't even pick up. What was amazing, we went down to Long Beach and there's this house that wasn't there before. I mean, they just built the exterior of the house and matched the interior so beautifully.
We scouted the house several times as it was coming, as it was growing to, you know, its completion. And the story from some of the contractors that had been there, some of the construction guys that have been there for most of the time, that the local neighborhood, apparently there's a planned freeway that goes right through the lot that we built the house in. I guess that's why we were able to use the lot. And as they saw this house going up, they kept coming by going, you guys know that they're going to build a freeway here, right? No idea. Every time it rained, we had to kill the power. By the end of the first month, I didn't miss TV. I didn't even mind the warm stale refrigerator. Go out in the night exteriors, especially around the Paper Street house and Lou's Tavern exteriors at night. We used these 8K tungsten helium balloons, or that have their own light source inside, and you fill up with helium. They blow up to probably about a good 10-foot diameter, and then you can hoist them up in the middle of the sequence, middle of your shot, and the taglines are all blackened out. They tend to disappear, and it creates a really wonderful animals to a large area. It's rather, at that point there wasn't anything to cut that source with. You know, now since then you can hang different material in the backs to make the light more directional. But it was just a large, broad source, and kind of went everywhere. So it just gave you a good base, and then you would put your keys in your backlight from that. But it helped enormously to light large areas. And we would have had, I didn't know they come in various sizes, but had we not had our spherical lenses, we would have a much larger light source than that. I mean, it just worked out now that you could have at 500 ASA, with the balloon about 30 feet in the air, you have a nice 1.4, 1.5, and then shooting at 2.3, so you had a great top under ambience that carried up a large area and gives you some really nice depth in the ground and sides of buildings and whatnot. And then, fortunately for me, because at that time we weren't able to cut the back of the light off, you know, it lights also the buildings, front lights buildings that you may not want lit, but because of the way that Alex had aged the buildings down, they were decrepit and dark in tone anyways, and it just helped. I didn't have to worry about cutting it, you know. If anything, the spill helped, otherwise those buildings would have disappeared. Plus the creative use of a standby painter, which we had a great standby painter by the name of Billy Hoyt on this picture, and anytime, you know, when we initially lit Lou's Tavern and we used the ball for the wider shots to give an ambience to the parking lots, it did in fact light the roof of the building too much, and so he just hops up the ray gun and down, you know, 2 notches, the building disappears. I had about 6 weeks to prep, which is about half the time is spent building the locations and going over the sets and talking with Alex about lot as to light and the ceilings, whether they're fixed or not fixed. And one of the interesting things about the Paper Street house is that we decided to opt for a real two-story house as opposed to splitting the two levels on a soundstage and having false ceilings. My attitude was about that, and certainly something I watched my father do so well, is if you're put into a realistic situation without the comfort of taking away a ceiling and putting light sources in that don't really exist, then you creatively have to come to terms with the space that you have, and it becomes a much more natural feeling of where, you can't cheat as much, and I didn't want to have the luxury of being able to cheat, so unfortunately it worked out for David as well, and Alex, because it saved a lot of space on the stage, rather than having two houses, two floor plans, we put them on top of each other, and it forces you to be more honest with your life, for better or worse. The Long Beach set was just a facade of a house, but the actual house was on stage at the top. It was 2 stories, and so you're forced to deal with those dilemmas, which I feel like if you watch the picture, you don't disbelieve any of the motivation from any of the light sources or the directions that they're coming from. And so that was our goal.
Good luck, Rose.
Down in the basement of Blues Tavern, where Fight Club initiates, it was interesting because we
fucking Lou.
strategically
Who the
placed
fuck are you?
around the room so that it could basically have a pseudo boxing ring with a lot of fall off in the background, not much depth, and we had one work light, metal domed standard household clip-on work light that you could see in a lot of places, and it turned out it was such a beautiful light source and made such sense that they'd have it in this place that we stole a bunch of them from the kitchen of the Paper Street house that was next door, and ended up using them throughout the whole movie. And nicknamed them budget busters since they were only $3 a piece to put in. And so basically all of Lou's tower and Lou's basement where the fighting takes place, minus this one fluorescent that we have tagged up, are all lit by these little budget busters.
Couldn't remember whether you ordered pen with blue ink or black. But Ricky was a god for 10 minutes when he trounced the Major D of a local food court. Sometimes all you could hear were the flat, hard, packing sounds over the phone.
Oh, look what else I got.
Little red choke.
Oh,
Breath and sprays.
that'll get you up.
You weren't alive anyway.
I guarantee it.
The Fight Club only exists in the hours between when Fight Club starts and
That's
when
his
Fight Club
favorite toy.
ends.
One of them.
Even if I could tell someone they had a good fight,
Don't know for sure
we wouldn't
what's
talk
his
about
favorite.
saying who you were in Fight Club is not who you were in the rest of the world. The guy came to Fight Club for the first time, his ass was a wad of cookie dough. After a few weeks,
This is the first picture that I photographed from head to toe as the DP. I thought I had worked on 7 and the game as a second unit.
Hey, he's up.
Done some operating on the first unit of 7. And shot quite a bit of second unit insert work on the game, and assumed that my meeting with David was regarding shooting second unit for Fight Club, so I was kind of taken back when he asked me to shoot the second one.
Calvin Klein or Tommy Hilfiger said they should. Not what a man looks like.
Improvement is masturbation. Self-destruction.
Self-improvement is masturbation. Is that true?
I
think that the computer can really do a lot of stuff, and I think every year as software gets better, as the body of technical knowledge gets better, there will be more and more breakthroughs and more experiments, more and more things tried. There's a danger with the computer animation and computer digital effects is that you see too much oftentimes, and there's a lot that goes wrong with computers. There's a lot that looks wrong. There's a lot of artifacts and just strange things in there, and people don't always know how to correct for those. I certainly don't know everything about correcting for digital artifacts and things, and also you don't always have the time to go in and to make things look absolutely real. So you are dealing with approximations all the time, and those approximations get smaller and smaller as time goes on. However, the demands upon the artists are being made greater and greater all the time. I mean, there's stuff that's being done now that could scarcely even be dreamed of years ago. So it's kind of amazing to think what might happen 5 or 10 years down the line. I think that there's still many stages of revolution and evolution.
See, he doesn't want that.
He
wants the rock.
For example, it might be 10,000 times faster or more powerful than the ones that we're using now. How is that going to change things? It's a perfect example of a phone conversation between Marla and Jack when she's laying on the bed.
Not belly.
She does have a skin irritation going on, and we didn't run from it. We went with her. We thought it fit her character, and she certainly wanted to go as opposite her Victorian stereotype as she could.
Really? For men.
Although she's all dressed up, seemingly so, wearing a sequin dress, which looks like it maybe came from the 60s.
Turn around and find this guy right here.
So what I did was
Who's a good boy?
shaved the sequins off in different areas, so you know, it looked really patterned, and also, you know, it's kind of sexy showing parts of the body. This was unlined.
The love-making sequences in this movie, love-making sequence in this movie is such an interesting choice and style that it shows all the passion without showing all the detail of actually, you know, sex, and so I thought it was a brilliant choice.
That was just, you know, it's one of those things we started early in prep, and literally almost the last scene to be delivered was one of the sex sequences. And in the end, we had to deliver the whole thing all as one continuous piece.
See how it bounces?
It was
It's a good
the
bounce.
usual boring CG things, because once you decided that, well, you're going to make everything fit together in one piece, then David could think of transitions between the two that hadn't been thought of before. It got very intricate. It's a little disappointing when you actually see it on the screen. It goes by and nothing flat. And it was actually supposed to be shorter. It was supposed to be this sort of blip for it, where every cut, I think there's 6 cuts that made it, every cut was 3 seconds long, and they ended up as long as like 7 or 8 seconds. But now you can't tell they're moving either, because 3 seconds spread out over 8 seconds starts to look kind of like you're not moving. So we added ashtrays flying through the air so you could see things falling, things like that. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hair pulling on my part.
Oh, you found it.
Hopefully the result's really beautiful. I don't know exactly how well it integrates into the rest of the movie, but it's a standout on its own. And I suppose it's the only time we see sex in the movie, so it can be a little different to everything else.
Yeah,
That's part of the rule of working with David visual effects. They have to look like they're part of the movie. He has a lot of experience. He's used a lot of dialogue. He knows about effects that go out in second units and come back looking great and having nothing to do with the movie. So that's like number one, is to try to make sure that it fits well and everything looks like everything else. And I tend to get sort of dragged into all sorts of other technical things. There's this sort of weird crossover between me and post, where Peter Lumbermont is the post supervisor, very involved in stuff that usually post supervisors are not, and I'm very involved in stuff that usually post supervisors are involved in, and we kind of mesh because David wants it all to fit. So it's a tight fit kind of thing.
We matched downtown hotel with, in fact, we went and found a bunch of downtown hotels that we liked to look up, and then we found a lobby that we liked, and then we took paint into the real location to match some of the other places we liked, and then to combine the look of that onto stage. So the corridor right by her room is stage, and everything else is location downstairs. So we built this room on stage, based it on sort of the worst of downtown monthly rental hotels that we found, and then took the look of
Make a wish.
what we liked of those and added paint in the location.
It's
Then
like
we
those
found
wisher
the lobby
flowers,
upstairs
but with
was
fur.
a hotel on 8th Street downtown. But we added the shine on the corridor.
Well, that's about it.
Pulled up
Nice, chill evening.
8th Street, wasn't it the night that somebody threw a bottle out of a window at Jeff?
and hit you on the head, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the exterior of that night, of that hotel, Marla's Hotel, one evening, in the middle of the night, as we were shooting down there, apparently we alienated one of the residents of that hotel, and he lobbed a 40-ounce beer bottle out the window, and just happened to clock me on the head as I was standing next to the camera, and
Good aim.
very good aim. Did you see my shirt afterwards? Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Wonderful pattern all over it. Yeah, I didn't get to finish that night. I spent it in the hospital, but it all worked out.
How are your feet doing?
Downtown's a war zone.
With all this snow.
We all experienced a little bit.
I don't know how you do it, man.
I have a scarred.
I don't know how dogs do it, running through the
We had set
snow,
officers on the set.
like on hot pavement in the summer.
Apprehended the guy that actually
Your
threw the
feet
ball.
are tough.
The local police that showed up.
You
As I was covered with beer, and I'm sitting there with a bandage, a pack on my head, waiting for an ambulance to show up. First question out of his mouth:
Good.
"Have you been drinking?"
Pretty
Yeah, I wanted to leave at him at that point.
Pretty good.
Me,
Oh.
I don't own this house to her or to anybody. We're done.
Tyler's lavender bathrobe with the coffee cups was a huge hit. In fact, I got a call from Edward this past November asking if I could have another one made up for his brother for a Christmas gift. I think it belonged to the original one. We had more copies, but the original one came from Brad's housekeeper.
Well, I'm just gonna cool down and stretch. Stretch for a bit.
On a third floor where I might not have heard them. But I didn't.
Basement set was built in a tank stage.
The fact that paper sheet has a faulty electrical system and forced the occupants, Brad and Edward, to turn off the fuse box when it rained, created an interesting scenario. Since when you switch off the power, what do you have left, right? So we applied interesting, uses of flashlights,
What is it?
candles, and then some moonlight.
Yeah, we had to work all that out from the outside, remember?
Exactly.
Had to have enough gaps built into the way that, because equally the house was supposed to be boarded up and totally abandoned, so no light was supposed to get in because they're all in there subversively and not letting anyone on the street know they're there, so you couldn't really show a lot of light coming in from the outside.
What? Chill out.
I emailed them to everyone.
Relax.
Is that your blood?
Some of it, yeah. You can't smoke in here.
Take the rest of the day off. Come back Monday with some clean clothes. Get yourself together.
I got right in everyone's hostile little face. Yes, these are bruises from fighting. Yes, I'm comfortable with that. I am enlightened.
earlier, Alex, about the exterior of the Paper Street house and the enormous undertaking it was to build that facade, and how you had some of the local characters actually telling you about the freeway that was going in and whatnot.
Yeah, it was funny because it went up, obviously, sort of in backwards in time, because it went up brand new, and people started coming up and saying, you really shouldn't be building a house in this neighborhood because we're about to take this area out for the Port of LA. So we said, it's okay, it's gonna be all right. And as it got older, people started coming by going, I've lived here 25 years, I had no idea this house was here. Right. We had bus tours going by the end. But there was always somebody.
I prefer the rock.
Just came in totally innocent.
See the rock? See?
I think it settled down
Told
after the UFO sighting.
I told you.
The moon balls.
It's his favorite, I told you. It's
We
alright.
had a local San Pedro historian who wanted us to give a talk to
Cool.
his historical society about the Victorian
Alright,
house.
nice little workout.
We built the porch and the
See y'all.
one wall of the
Goodbye,
kitchen
Odin.
was built on location, and we brought the entire piece
Alright.
back to stage